guys, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you're ready for a little eyeshadow palette review today on this new Too Faced teddy bear palette. I saw this lurking on Sephora's website for quite a while. Like, you could see it was there, but they weren't making it available yet. Now it is available, but I was just like, oh, I'm really interested in this. Now, it turned out to be a smaller palette than I thought it was going to be. Is this size not throwing y'all a little bit as far as what Too Faced has normally put out? You know, it's not as big as a chocolate bar palette. I was reading some of the reviews on Sephora's site for this and a lot of complaints about size. The pans of product are also, you know, not huge, but I mean, this to me is a very pleasing size. I was actually kind of excited when I got it and I'm like, okay, that's a really nice size. This seems very manageable to me, you know? But anyways, let's go over the basics. It's called Teddy Bear. It's from Too Faced. It got this little bear here on it. It's a 14 shade palette. You're seeing 12 pans that are these little rectangles and then 2 larger shades that are right out here. So total of 14 colors. As you can see, we're looking at a very neutral color scheme here with 4 shimmery pops. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 2 of those shimmers are kind of like the speckled variety. We haven't seen a lot of that from Too Faced, but it's kind of like working in different pigments of color. For example, the gold shade has little flecks of maybe an icy pink in it, and then the rosy one has like some champagne and golden accents within the one shade. So I would call those speckled. These are just kind of like smoother metallic shades. One is like a slightly different tone of gold compared to this other one. Honestly, they could have maybe just gotten away with one of those and instead put in a light champagne-y kind of shimmer. I would have liked to have seen that because there's not really a light highlight the inner corner shade. I'll show you my solution to that in the tutorial portion of this video. But then we also have a pinky color down here. But overall, it is nice to have either the golden direction with your shimmer or the pinky direction with the shimmer, because that can really just change the whole trajectory of the look. I really like that both those tones are there. Now, they say on the website, I had to double check this, they say it smells like honey graham crackers. You know Too Faced likes to do funny things with their scents, but I get it, kind of. I mean, I knew there was a different scent going on, but I couldn't put my finger on it until they said that, and then I'm like, well, okay, it's soft. It is kind of like a baked goodness kind of scent. It's not over the top. It's not one of those where whoosh, you open the palette and you're overcome with scent. But it's a very soft, kind of gently warm and sweet type of scent. So if they want to call that honey graham crackers, that's fine. But let's talk now about the mattes that are in here. We have 2 shades that they've given us a nice generous portion of here, and I think they probably see those as very easy crease colors, and they are. One is just this really soft, light brown, beigey color, and then we have more of a rosy shade down here. This palette as a whole takes you in a very, I think, rosy, plummy direction, because with your deepest shades here, that's where the intensity lies. This is like a dark rosy brown. I really like that color, and this is a plum, okay? So those shades, even used lightly in a look, even sheared out in your look, they will leave their mark of kind of a rosy plumminess. And then we have a pink up here. We have more of a honey kind of matte. This dusty rose that kind of falls right in between these two on the depth chart. This one is like your deeper dose of that shade. And then we have 2 creamy matte highlight shades, one a bit more peachy. I love that, just like blending the edge of any of these darker shades. And then a pure cream matte shade that provides actually beautiful contrast. If you were doing like an all matte look and you wanted that color to kind of gently encircle the tear duct, it would be very satisfying for you to do it that way. They've left shade names off of here. They do have shade names, all of these colors, but they're on the back. But I guess if that kind of minimizes the size, I think I'm okay with that. I have always really enjoyed Too Faced matte eyeshadow formula. It's no exception here. I mean, I think these shades apply beautifully. They blend with ease. The color choices, I think, were great, especially from the perspective of a person who loves plum and berry. The fact that their deep colors go back to that place really makes me happy. Now, do I have some of these shades in my collection already? Yeah, I would have to say I do. But when I look at a palette, I think about the convenience factor within that matte palette and the shades that are contained within, and the fact that, you know, is this something I could see myself traveling with if I ever get out traveling again, you know? Would this create enough of a range of looks from subtle to dramatic? Would it give me a couple different color families to work with if I want it to look a little bit more brownish or more pinky berry? Can I do that? Yes, I can. I could do an all matte eye. I can have that pop of shimmer. So yeah, even though these are shades I'm very familiar with, you know, and I have some other palettes that have them, we'll make some comparisons here in a second. There is enough versatility within this small palette for me to feel like, yeah, I think it has its place actually. And I really like the tones. I really like the way the shimmers all hold their own. And it's not like, okay, this one has to be applied with your finger because it's just gonna flake out everywhere. No, very little, if any, fallout with any of these, and I can apply them all with a brush. No special thought, attention, or care. And I really can't say that about every Too Faced palette I've used. So it's nice to be able to try this and say, yeah, across the board, I am happy quality-wise with every shade. The only thing that I could maybe see changing, again, we've got two golden shimmers, maybe swap the one out for more of a champagne, like a really light shimmer. But other than that, I gotta say, I like that every shade holds its own. There is no color overlap here. There are no shades where, oh gosh, they're so close. I think they realized, hey, this is gonna be a small, like 14 shade palette. Everything needs to pack its own unique punch, and it does. So let's talk about some of the different looks that I have done. This is my fourth look that I've done with it today, and I will break away for you to see that tutorial in a second. But I gotta tell you, this palette really felt like a nice comfort zone coming out of the single screws challenge, because I was just like getting thrown curveballs every single day for a week straight, and then I come into a nice little neutral palette. I'm like, okay, this is good. The first look I did, I really spotlighted some of that golden shimmer from kind of like the speckled shimmer shade. That's what you're seeing on the inner part of the lid, and I went just kind of deep and toasty with some of the different like matte dusty rose shades on the outside. I thought that was a gorgeous look, and I was so happy with the way that metallic shade really felt like it was just singing on the inner lid. The next day I used it, I went more rosy with the tone. So you can see I used the pinky speckled shimmer there, really played up the berry and pink vibe in the crease and outer corner. I believe that day I did use the pink, the matte bubblegummy looking pink there. That was what I started off with in my crease. And when you start pairing your deep plum and your dusty rose in with that shade, it kind of takes everything up a notch and it all looks more rosy. Then in my last video, you saw me wearing a more natural look. I decided to go all matte and just keep it soft. I'm not even sure that I pulled in my dark plum in this look. I think I just stayed with maybe the deepest dusty rose color, and I used the matte cream shade on the lid, and it was just smooth, smooth, smooth. I love the effortlessness, yet the kind of flawlessness of that look. And then today on the lid, I played with some of this speckled kind of ruby shade. Did I say I used that one on the inner lid on that pink look? I used this one mostly on the inner lid for the pinky look. Anyway, this one today, and then I merged it in with this, and I've got some plum working in there too. So let's go ahead and show you that look, and then we'll talk about some comparisons with other palettes. Okay friends, so we're gonna start out with this shade in the crease. It's one of the two larger pans, but the lighter toned one. And I'm just gonna get that going here in my crease. This is gonna be, obviously, you look at the color scheme, you know, it's a sort of a natural look. Nothing's gonna get too out there color-wise, but it can still be intense, you know, it can still be deep if you want it to be. Okay, so I'm just getting this really light wash of that shade all throughout my crease. And then I'm like, okay, I wanna deepen that up further. I wanna go darker with it. I think I'm gonna go to this shade right beneath it that has a little more intensity to it. And that one's gonna also go in the crease. But because we put the lighter shade in there first, it's gonna blend even more easily, which I think Too Faced mattes are among some of the easiest mattes to work with. So these steps please me. I enjoy it. Now I'm just taking a bare brush and I'm making sure the edges of all this are nice and soft. And then I think I'll go ahead and choose sort of a highlighter shade. I like that there's a couple of tones that could really work here. I'm going to take the slightly more, I don't know, peachy of the two, and it's a really nice just kind of edge blender. Just makes the edge of your look melt right into your skin. Enjoy that very much. Then I'm thinking about taking the whole thing deeper with this dark, rich plum right over here. It is matte. I'm really glad it's here because it just merges so beautifully with every other neutral in this palette. I love that it's a plummy shade. And we're not talking purple here, we're talking deep plum. It's not like a real colorful shade, but it certainly has that plummy thing going on. So what I'm doing here is with a flat brush, patting it on the outside of my lid. You've seen me use this technique probably a million times, but it kind of helps to see like an unfamiliar product, I think, with a familiar application. So you can sort of see how well it's translating, how well it's laying down, blending, etc. Alrighty, I've got that there. Now I can go back to that trusty blending brush that we first used, and I can make sure everything is merging together. I didn't put any color on this brush first, I'm just going over it. That plum looks so pretty going into those kind of warm, borderline rosy browns. It's perfection. The happier I am with the deep shades that are put into a palette, the better chance I'm going to enjoy the palette as a whole. And that's just something I'm learning about myself. Now I'm going to downsize that crease brush a little bit. This is my E27, same cut as the E25, just smaller. And I want to go back into the plum, but now I'm approaching it in a more targeted way right in the deep part of the crease, okay? We've already put it on the lid, we've already kind of softly blended up to the crease. But now we're really just putting that precisely where we want it to be, right in there, that darkest plum. I also like palettes that make the job feel easy and enjoyable. If I'm having a good time, if the shades are just like effortlessly playing with one another, and I can feel like I can make darn near any decision I want to make with where things go, and it all just kind of still falls into place, that's a happy palette experience for me. Alrighty, I'm pleased with where we're at there, and while we are still working with that deeper color, I'm taking my Profusion ES6, continuing with the plum, and at this stage of the game we might as well just go ahead and take that down to the lower lash line. I'm getting vaccinated today! Yay! Mom and Dad already got their shot pretty early on. Bub got his a couple weeks ago, and I'm so grateful to be getting mine today. So basically just nice and soft here. I'm not trying to make a huge statement. I'm just, you know, using that same tone very gently on the lower lash line and kind of blending to nothingness on this inner part here. The shimmers here, very enjoyable. We have 4. We have 2 that are kind of speckled. One is rosy and a little deeper. One is golden. And then we have these 2 that are not speckled, but still definitely have an impact. I'm going to use a couple here. I think let's take this one and let's kind of pat that so you can see about how dark that is. Like, it's a decent, you know, medium kind of ruby looking shade practically. And I'm just patting that on the center of my lid. And then I think we'll merge into something a little lighter going in. But as you can see, this is applying nicely with a brush and not giving me any trouble. I'm even partially overlapping with a matte, and it's not like struggling to lay down. There's nothing unusual really or difficult about the textures of these shimmers, which pleases me very much. See that? We've got that nice little rosy shine. This is kind of the turning point, because if we choose a goldeny shade, the look takes on that kind of a vibe. If we take the pinky one down here, it's a real twist in how the look's gonna come off. I think I'm gonna take this one. So this kind of goldeny shimmer, and let some more warmth come in there. Oh, that's pretty side by side with the more rusty rosy shimmer. This can be a very glitzy palette. You know, you can really work those shimmers. You can go very like high contrast with it, or it can be very like everyday, just a matte eye. I like that versatility. But that's pretty, I like that. And then when we're talking about the inner corner highlight, the one thing that I might say is possibly missing out of this would be a very light inner corner highlight, because this is still, you know, it might seem light, but it's still kind of golden, which can be a little deep for me actually, if we're talking a brightening shade around the inner corner. Now, you do have a very brightening matte right here. Something I will do is I love my ABH double-ended brow thing, and I take that matte end and I put it right here to brighten up my lower inner rim, you know. But then in situations where the palette might not have like a nice little brighten up shimmer for my inner corner, I can use the shimmery end of this pencil, which doesn't get talked about by me nearly as much, but it's really nice. And that can also highlight like your cheekbones. It can highlight your cupid's bow. I mean, just like, it's really pretty. Alrighty, so here is the finished look. Same eyeshadow you just saw done. The only things I've added are a winged liquid liner. I also took a little bit of my darkest plummy shade and I kind of blended that up into my wing a little bit from the lower lash line. I've got mascara top and bottom, and I popped on these lashes, not because my Kiss So Real ones wore out on me. I just forgot to bring them upstairs. And I had these from Salon Perfect, the Winged Demi collection. So it's that same style that is on right now. Definitely like longer on the outsides. I think they're pretty. They're nice and full too. And then on my lips, I'm wearing my MAC satin finish lipstick in Twig. Classic color here. Fun fact, this was what Joey was often seen wearing in Dawson's Creek, I guess in her more done up moments. My blush today is the NARS Air Matte Blush in Freedom. Then my highlight is the Buxom Wanderlust in White Russian. Actually the same combo I was wearing on my cheeks in my last video. So I wanted to think about what else was in my collection that might be similar to this palette, and one thing that definitely came to mind is the Naughty palette from Huda. So I'm going to open both of these up here so you can sort of see their similarities in their color scheme. Now the Naughty palette is a larger palette, but you can kind of hone in on how they both have this plummy depth to them, and then a variety of going from pinky or goldeny shimmers. They even both have kind of a ruby shimmer also. So if you have this, you can probably do a lot of the looks that this one can as well. But if you're sort of juggling between the two, there can be advantages to getting the less complex, a little bit more edited down thing. You know, there is kind of an ease with this palette that I really enjoy. Here, instead of just getting 4 shimmers, you're getting like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so 8 shimmers plus this kind of oddball like jelly type shade in the corner. The mattes are really good. I gotta say I enjoy Huda's formulas. This does take you kind of more of an orange terracotta route as well, so that's kind of an addition in this palette that this one doesn't quite have. But there are some similarities in that overall theme and how your look can come back to a plummy place, although there's a bit more just pure brown happening in this one also, if you want to sidestep the plum look. So it is a little more expensive palette, a little more versatile. That kind of variety may or may not be exactly what you want, but I just wanted to point out they do have some similarities. Also, I was thinking about a palette that I don't currently have, that Tartelette Juicy palette. Yeah, I actually practiced some restraint there and didn't get that one, but I noticed how that one comes back to a brown and a plummy and kind of some pinky vibes in there as well. It's a larger palette than this one by quite a bit. That's like a 24 shade palette, and to me, as I look at the pictures, I can only say as I look at the pictures because I don't have it actually, but looking at it online, I'm seeing a lot of shades in there that maybe are super duper close and wouldn't absolutely have to be there. And again, a thing I love about this was that every shade seemed to really have its place. And then also the palette that came out right around a year ago at this time, the Born This Way Natural Nudes. This palette did not satisfy me. This palette fell short, I felt like, in a number of ways. I'm not saying really color-wise, like it's the exact same color scheme or anything, but I'm just saying like this teddy bear palette compared to this is much better. This is everything this one kind of needed to be, I think. Mattes that really hold their own and make a statement, like the mattes were okay here, but there were so many like kind of murky mid-tone shades that didn't really differentiate themselves super well from one another. Here, everything's holding its own. In this one, there were a number of shimmers that were just hard to work with, didn't build up with a lot of intensity. Here, again, everything holds its own, has its worth, has its place in the palette. And using this, I was just like, wow, that's the experience I kind of wanted out of the Born This Way Nudes palette that was out just about a year ago at this time. So hopefully that gives you a little perspective here with this palette, but I will say I enjoy this teddy bear palette. I like the smaller size. I like the decisions with the shades that were put in it. What can I say? They're my kinds of looks. This is a palette rooted in deep dusty rose and plum, and everything quality-wise just really checks my boxes. I'm into it. Yeah, I feel like I've worked with it enough to really get a feel for what it's capable of. I've enjoyed every look. I like the quality. I like the shades. So it's definitely a 2 thumbs up palette from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I will see you again very soon. Bye.